So today's video is going to be kind of like a mini project. I'm going to make a cushion to cover Trixie's little corner shelf. When looking at this house, I saw that it had the corner window, and I really wanted a corner shelf so that I didn't have to do one of the Velcro actual cat shelves on the window. I don't know, they just weren't my thing. So I found this really cool shelf that I've shown you guys at Target, and it was perfect. It's actually the right height. It's just like a smidge narrow. So I'm going to measure it out, and we're going to make a little cushion for it for this little piglet. It's too busy exploring. So I'm going to show you the different components we're going to be working with, and then we're going to get into action. So here's what the top of the shelf looks like. It's this kind of oblong shape, not oblong, but obscure shape. And because of the quarter round on the floor, we've got about an inch gap. So what I'm going to do is, when I make my pattern piece, I'm going to extend these sides by probably 1.5 inches or so. I'm going to measure to see what that difference is, because it goes all the way around this side and then this one as well. So then the cushion at least goes to the window, even if the shelf doesn't. And as you can see, somebody has already chewed off one of the protective coverings. So I bought this just gray generic fleece to put on top to make the cushion, but she's been so obsessed with this fleece, or this kind of minky-ish blanket. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll probably make the cushion, and then my mom has offered to make her a smaller minky blanket that actually is more kitten sized than this one. So that's gonna be what we're gonna do. Plus this blanket needs washed. So to make my pattern, I'm gonna use this box to trace the top of the shelf and then make my pattern piece. But somebody would have to get out of it first. So I think I've got my pattern all situated, and now I'm going to see if it fits on the shelf, and then we're going to see if my fabric's big enough. So that'll be my next real question. If my fleece is big enough, and then if it's not, what I'm gonna do from there. So my piece goes as it should. My cardboard just didn't line up all the way, but that one I'll know to trace out and just extend that line. But I think it's gonna be a good fit. I added an extra 1.5 inches to the sides just to make that gap, and then add a seam allowance, and then a 1/2 inch on the front. We've got quite a bit of overhang here, but I think once the seam allowance goes in and everything else, I think it'll be pretty close. Worst case, I get it all quilted and then trim it down a little bit. So I'm gonna go see if it fits on my fabric now. at that, my puzzle piece is just the right size. I'm gonna go grab my rotary cutter and my big mat, and then we'll trim this up. So what we've done so far is I've cut out my pieces. I did a double layer of batting just to get everything so it's nice, a little fluffy and a little plushy for a kitty shelf. And then I used tape as my marking for quilting. So I was originally just going to use my chalk liner like usual, but because it was so thick and the fabric was a lighter shade of gray, it wasn't showing up. So I used the masking tape to mark off my quilting lines, and I quilted on each side of those. And at that point, that's where I decided that I was over it. It's just a cat shelf cushion, so I'm not going to bother quilting the opposite direction. So I just quilted the one way. Now what we're going to do is, instead of doing a binding, I'm going to take the front and pull it over to the back and just kind of top stitch there. So then it's all good to go. So that'll be the side down. It'll just look one continuous, and the only time you'll really see the back side is when it is coming off to being washed, or if Trixie knocks it on the floor. So here we are with our finished shelf cushion. As you saw, it was a little bit of wrangling to get it through, and originally I had planned on doing multiple crosshatch quilting, but once I just did the one, I was like, you know what, it's for Trixie. What is she gonna care? So I'm gonna see if it fits now, and then see if she actually likes it. Okay, so first check, there we go. Not hating it. How about we put it on your shelf now? So here it is up on top. It's actually not too far off in size. My 1.5 inches was lost a little bit, but I think that actually toot my own horn and not too shabby. So now we'll see if it passes the Trixie test up here. couple things that would have come in handy with this project would have been a little bit bigger piece of fabric, but I think we may do. It's actually not too far off. My pattern piece was a correct size to the extent of me tracing it. The other thing that would have really helped, and it would have helped me in my previous quilt project as well, is having a bigger rotary blade. I noticed because I was using cardboard, it was thicker, and then I tried to use a ruler on top of it. My 45mm blade was just not having it, and so really could have used that 60mm blade. But all in all, it actually turned out quite well.